First of all, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Okay.
Sun's shining in Amsterdam, which is good.
I was surprised as well today.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Apparently it's been raining for 2 weeks, so...
It is. It
brought
has
the sun.
been. So, good times. Before I discuss the new album with you, I'd like to go back to the start. You probably have told this story a lot of times, but still. Do you recall the first time you met each other?
Yeah.
So we answer the question, don't we? The first time, don't we? Should we do that?
You want us to
Yes.
fill in the...
Yeah.
So, yeah, the first time we met was, I'd called Andy up kind of randomly because I was looking for someone to work with, and a DJ friend of mine said, oh, there's this guy, he's a bit quirky for most people, but I think you'll get on with him. And so I'd phoned him up, and we'd arranged to meet up, and we met at a bar, I think, didn't we, in Manchester, in the Oldham Street area, which is kind of the sort of music, arty area, I guess. And it was quite, yeah.
It was 1995, and I...
94?
94.
Yeah.
And I had a job at the studio, and I got sacked the day that Lou called me from the studio for not being commercial enough. And I'm literally clearing out my desk, and the phone rings, and it's Lou saying, "Do you want to meet up?" And I was pretty cheeky at the time. I think my opening words were, "Well, are you good looking?" To which she said, "Well, you'll have to find out." I was. It's a bigger story, but yeah. So we met in this bar, and we were owed some studio time, and we went to Leeds, which is like a town about an hour a drive away, and kind of got creative in the studio, and we spent a solid week, and we wrote and recorded our first song, which was God Bless.
Okay.
And then just within that first week, kind of worked out that there was something special going on.
Okay. Well, Lou, when you received this phone number, what was on your mind? What were you looking for? Were you looking for a creative partner? Why did you phone him up?
I was looking for someone to work with, yeah. I'd kind of tried working with other... I was writing songs, and I was listening to pirate stations in Manchester, and it was like the early days of kind of breakbeat and stuff like that, and I was really excited by the kind of interplay of songs with beats, and I knew I wanted somebody who would kind of... Can I say fuck around with beats on this? Anyway, so I'd tried working with another producer who was just very like, oh, you have to do this, and you have to. It was very constrained by what technically you should do, and I knew I didn't want that. I wanted somebody who broke all the rules, and so I think that was the conversation I'd had with this DJ friend, and obviously Andy lost his job because he was breaking all the rules, and so it was meant to be. It was like. We got in the studio and we didn't have any rules. We didn't have any kind of plan, like a game plan of what we were going to do. We just went in there and to see what would happen, really. And that's always been the thing with Lamb, is just not really having a plan and just letting the process steer itself.
What did you discover about each other? Because I've read that you describe each other as being opposites in a lot of ways. So what did those initial sessions in the studio, what did you discover about each other?
Well, I mean, Lou was back in the day. She was really into singer-songwriters, and I was really into like strange electronic instrumental music. And so we were coming from very different. I mean, the main difference was like song arrangements were there for Lou, but I was just like adamant that I didn't want to adhere to that, and I was just going to do my thing, and she could sing on top of it. There was a kind of a one-upmanship that we had on each other, which kind of set a tension, and we used to fight. I mean, we used to fight a lot. We would, in interviews, quite often one of us would storm out.
Yeah, I think back then the differences between us were, something to fight over, and it was like a battle for dominance,
Was it a creative? Sorry to interrupt, but was it a creative thing or on a personal level as well?
I mean, I think that's why Lamb sounded like it did, and why it still sounds like it does. The differences are still there. It's just that we've learned to deal with them in a different way. Now we know that our differences are our strength. We know that that's what makes our music interesting, you know, and we play with it now in the creative process, you know. Obviously maturity helps, and the fact that we've known each other for years, and we're kind of more brother and sister than we ever were in a way, and it's just like, we just have a lot of fun, and the differences are still there, but, you know, just we play to our strengths.
Right. And when you released a couple of albums, and then around 2004 it kind of died down a little bit, and you started to focus on solo projects. So what was it that both of you were missing when you were doing Lamb that you couldn't get out, or couldn't express, or couldn't?
I think Lou and I bring very different things to the table. I don't write the same music when Lou's not around, and there's something about this unique, you know, she's like my creative soulmate. So, and you know, she was the first singer I really worked with. I thought all singers could just write a song in 20 minutes and have great pitch and nail the performance in like 3 takes. But then after working with a load of other bands, I kind of realised that isn't the case at all. Lots of singers have to do 20 takes, and it takes days. And
I get bored after 3 takes, so it has to work.
and so, you know, it's a bit like, you know, you kind of go shopping for a house, and then you just find the perfect house, but then you kind of have to go and see at least a few more just to make sure it was. But you know that it's the perfect house. I know that she's the perfect home for that side of my creativity.
Did you know that in 2004?
No, I think that's why we needed to separate, and, you know, I mean, I was dying to go off and do my more acoustic solo work, and...
You're dying to?
What? Dying what?
It sounds like I was dying on those records.
And I think also we'd spent 10 years with a major label, and it's kind of almost like a job at that, you know, the label's kind of asking you when the next record's coming. And I think by the 4th album that we did with Universal, it was starting to feel like, oh God, we have to do this, you know, it's like we have to make another record, and we kind of didn't really know where we were going with it. I think at that stage, you know, our differences were really kind of becoming an issue. We were, you know, we'd never hang out together or anything out of choice. It was more duty that brought us together, and so it was just really time for us to go our separate ways.
In terms of the music, then, did you notice on that last record that the creativity was different than it was in the beginning? Because as you mentioned, it became kind of a routine or something?
Yeah, not necessarily a routine, but I think, you know, with the earlier albums, we were just driven, you know, we just knew, we were just hungry for it. Whereas when we came to the 4th album, I think we didn't really have this strong kind of pull to do it, and that's why it was so great to go away and then come back. You know, when we got back together in 2009 we got back together to play some shows, but then in 2010 we started writing 5, and we were doing it because we wanted to again, you know, and because we were getting a real buzz out of it, and just loving it, and, you know, and getting on much better as human beings as well. I mean, nowadays we kind of hang out of choice, and you know, we kind of have a social life that we share quite a lot of the time as well, which we never used to do.
Did you stay in touch when you went off and did your own thing?
Yeah,
A little bit, not much.
not much. But then he recorded and produced my 3rd solo album, which was, you know, something that would never have happened, you know, back in the day. You know, so.
And I kind of, it feels like I've kind of got some new tricks now from producing bands the last 3 years. And, you know, working with artists like David Gray, who have, you know, sold millions of records and have big budgets, and just even seeing the way that he kind of creates and he writes. I think then when we went into this record, I had a new concept of how I can offer more within our kind of partnership of music. And likewise, you know, I pushed Lou to kind of maybe think outside the box, and she encourages me to simplify and just like, no, that's the right direction, and a conviction from her, like, you know, this is it, let's just stay on this path. and like, so when we're not there for each other in that way, like her vocals are very different and my beats are very different. Because without knowing it, we you know, we produce each other.
Was there then, during this period that between, I think, 2004 and 2009, that you, because you both had your creative projects, but did you miss elements of each other while doing it?
I think
Not to begin with.
I really missed touring with Lamb. You know, when you've got crowds of great people and amazing sound systems and good crew, and you know everything is going to work, and like that is not what you get when you're doing small solo shows. And I definitely missed that side of it.
Okay. But in terms of writing music together, that was something that was in the past and would come maybe later, but you were focused on your own thing at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I think when we first split in 2004, I swore that I wasn't going to make another Lamb record.
Why not?
I don't know. We'd just gone so much in different directions, I think, and
Okay.
the friction was really telling.
We said we were going to kind of keep going until we'd done it, and we would stop elegantly before it got to that, oh God, are they still making albums?
Yeah.
Right.
So when 5 came along, it was like, well, let's simplify it, and then it started getting exciting again. Because I think we did fall foul of, you know, on our 4th album, everything got a bit too lush and a bit overproduced, and so 5 was even, you know, was kind of raw, but this new album, Backspace Unwind, is even kind of rawer. It's fuzzy and it's dirty and it's a lot more like primary colours, where the other ones were like very pastels and lots of watercolours. This one's just like primary colours and shapes and blocks, and it's got a real, it leaps out of the speakers, and it's quite aggressive at times and very beautiful at times, and it seems like we've recaptured our kind of like first album form of extreme dynamics, but done musically.
With this in mind, how do you look back at 5 then? Was it something that you needed to make before arriving where you are now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely a kind of progression through the 2 records. You know, I think when we reformed to make 5, there wasn't a game plan, but there was a kind of, okay, our calling card is less is more, and keeping things stripped and raw, and not spending too long on a track, so that, you know, you don't get too kind of, you know, if you spend a long time on making a piece of music, you just can't hear it anymore, you know. So we wanted to keep it fresh and keep it flowing. You know, with this new record, we've made it in so little time. You know, the whole thing happened really. You know, it flowed, and we just made sure that we kept that flow going. You know, and it's you can hear it in the record. There's a real, you know, freshness to it because of that.